I'm currently on a mission to try to install a set of 285/70 R17 Duratracks on my 3rd generation Tacoma, and the task is proving to be a lot more challenging than it should be. The general rule of thumb is that with a set of 285s, you need at least 3 inches of lift in the front, and even then, you may need to do a little bit of minor trimming or cutting. I already had a 2-inch lift in the front and a 1-inch lift in the rear, so I figured what would be the harm in getting the wheels and tires installed, seeing what it looks like. Maybe I'll be fine with the current lift that I've got and I can leave it as is, and if not, I'll use it as an excuse to upgrade my suspension package, given that I was running a spacer in the front and a block in the rear. 2 inches of lift was not even close to cutting it. Severe rubbing with that setup, and so it very quickly led me down the path of upgrading the suspension. I didn't even get to take the truck home from the tire store with those new wheels and tires installed, so that was definitely a disappointment. Since then, I've installed an Icon Stage 2 setup on the truck. If you want to check out my install videos, I'll put a link to those in the description below, as well as in the upper right-hand corner. And that is complete, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out quite the way that I had hoped. The install did go fairly smooth. I like what I've got up in the front of the truck. What's disappointing is the rear, because the Icon Stage 2 setup is supposed to give you between 0 to 2.75 inches of lift in the front, which I'm definitely seeing. And at the rear of the truck, it's supposed to give you 1.5 inches. Well, I already had 1 inch of lift in the rear. Went with a 1.5 inch lift. I would expect the rear of the truck to sit higher than it was before, and I am almost certain that it's not. Now, unfortunately, I didn't take measurements beforehand, so I can't compare those. I could go to a dealership and compare it to stock, but the problem with that is that this truck is older. It's got a hidden winch up front, which is going to lower it down. It's got the tonneau cover on the back. I'm not sure that I'd quite get an apples-to-apples comparison, although I probably will go take measurements at some point just out of curiosity. But I'm pretty sure that this lift kit actually lowered my truck. So again, I had the 1-inch lift in the rear before. I had a nice rake on the truck. Now that I've got this 1.5 inch lift and I've got the front coilover raised somewhat, the truck is already sitting level, and that shouldn't be happening. It should have a rake on it and maybe worst case scenario sitting level. Currently with the coilover, I'm not even maxed out. You take a look right here, you can adjust this. Right now I'm at 1 3/4 inch, and you can max that out at about 2.16. So I'm not maxed out in the front, and I'm already level with the back. So something's not adding up there. Now, if you look at the leaf pack, it is a little bit suspicious because at the axle, you're about 1 inch thick with the leaf pack. If you consider the fact that you have to remove the overload spring, which is also sitting at that axle, and that overload spring is probably about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch thick, that means we're only gaining somewhere between 1/4 to 1/2 inch of thickness right at the axle. Now, obviously, the full height isn't coming at the axle, it's on the curve of the leaf, so it's pushing the whole leaf pack up. But I still find it a little bit hard to believe that if I'm only gaining up to maybe 1/2 inch at the axle, that then gaining a whole inch on the leaf. If you guys know otherwise, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. At the most, it's sitting the same as it was before, and I'm pretty sure it's sitting a little bit lower. Now, it's really unfortunate because I'm a huge fan of the truck having a rake on it. I think that that looks best even when you're not loaded up. I think it's nice to have the back sitting up just slightly. And then obviously once it is loaded up, I don't want to bro lean. So I'm a little worried about that. But it kind of is what it is. Let's do a quick walk around so you can see the full look of the truck. You can see on this side, it looks fairly level. But as we walk around to the other side, obviously we're not on flat ground. It's got a little bit more of that lean going on. So you can see up front, we've got a pretty good gap there. And then on the back, you know, again, it's looking like it's sitting a little lower. Now, the fact that this is sitting lower, you'd think on the other side we'd have more of a rake. And again, on the other side, looks like it has a pretty level appearance to it. So not really sure what to think there. The unfortunate thing is that I just put a lot of time into putting this lift kit on, and it wasn't exactly cheap, so I'm not in any rush to replace what I've got in the rear. I think I'm probably gonna have to live with the kit the way that it is. My hope is that once I get the wheels and tires installed, maybe I'll actually have a little more clearance up front than I need, and I could drop that down to reestablish the rake. Worst case scenario, I end up with a level appearance, which isn't all bad either. So that's where I'm at with things. I am super excited to take it down, hopefully this weekend, to get the new wheels and tires installed. So be sure to stay posted for that upload once I get them on. If you have any other comments, questions, suggestions on this whole situation, love to get that feedback below. For more videos on the 3rd Gen Tacoma, stay posted. In the meantime, thanks for watching.